Alrighty, let's get this started. If you have a name suggestion, feel free to post a name suggestion, that's okay. So, if you don't know this game, this is a Super Nintendo action RPG from 1993, I think? It was 94 for Europe, if I'm not mistaken. And this is one of the games that people really look fondly back. But when you actually go back with today's knowledge, you start to realize this game is actually pretty broken. As in, really broken. So we do that. Narp. Okay, let's go with Narp. I just picked the first name that I've seen. Dieter. Let's go with Narp. Good Narp. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Secret of Mana, 1 player, 2 controllers. I will be using a second controller throughout the run, because in this game you can control multiple characters at the same time. One of the best features about this game, you can actually control up to 3 characters at the same time instead of just 2. For that you need a multitap device, and I'm also going to be using that multitap device and including with it the third controller instead of just the second one. So what kind of effect that will have you will see soon. So far not sure. I see. Fair enough, Lila. So, this game starts out with your standard thingy where your hero gets into a bit of an unfortunate situation. He is getting thrown down a waterfall, or more specifically he slips and falls apparently. Then he finds a sword. He gets told to be strong and he is the chosen hero or something like that. And then we go out. I will not be keeping track of the plot particularly much because, well, you do skip a lot of the plot in this speedrun, I can tell you that much. There are actually no optional bosses in this game, however, we do by now have a category that we call 1 player 1 controller all bosses, just because you can skip so many of them. That was not clever. So, basic mechanics of this game. When you run, you need to have 100% stamina. When your character is blinking, you don't have 100% stamina. And you can only run once in one direction. Once you start running, you're locked in that direction. You have to release the run button, which is A, by the way. This one. You interact and attack with the B button. You open up the menu with the Y. You open up the partner menu with X. And L and R buttons are just for show. They are used to moonwalk. Not really any particularly good use other than that. Can you just use 3 DDR pads instead? You could if you wanted to, and if you had specific adapters. But I feel like that would be rather difficult to do. So, alrighty, now we actually have a HP bar, 50 out of 50 HP at the bottom. The top right corner of the portrait you see a 1, that means the first controller is controlling that character. And at the bottom, below that, as soon as I swing or start running, you see a number counting up to 100%. And that is my stamina bar, essentially. Here, I'm going to kill some rabbits. They only have 20 HP, they are the weakest enemy in the game. And I want to kill them in order for me to level up my weapon. So in this game you can not only level up the character, but also your character's weapon. Here, if I kill a total of 11 enemies, my sword will level up from level 0 to level 1. And I will be aiming to do this as I'm moving along before I hit the next weapon, that is. So you can equip various weapons on all the characters that you get along this level, and what leveling up the weapon does for you is you can charge up the weapon. Charging up a weapon makes it deal 50% more experience per charge level, and in order to charge up a weapon further than just level 1, you need to level it up to level 2, but you need to upgrade your weapon before you can level it up to level 2, which is something you are required to do by plot anyways, and so we will be doing this. There's also glitches involved, or, well, with the level 2 and level 1 weapon charge level, but you'll see that very soon in about 20 minutes or so. Good evening, Blacky Lotus, how are you doing? So, either way, people realize we picked up the sword that was kind of protecting this village from monsters somehow, and now they are scared, and also all of a sudden this guy, the Mantis Ant, appears, and they try to beat him. There are various methods to dealing with this guy, but as it turns out, it is faster to just attack the Mantis Ant repeatedly from the front before he hits you. The reason why that's faster is because you hit him before he hits you, and you recover while you are being hit anyways, so that's that. You also, in general, only want to attack enemies if your stamina bar is at 100%. If you attack earlier, you will do a fraction of the damage, as in, like, really low damage most of the time. So it's generally worth it to just wait for 100% and then attack. So, we acquire a sword orb and we go on. So this gentleman here is called Gemma, on the left anyways, and he tells us to go to the Water Palace in order for us to meet Luca, and then there they will explain us that we need to journey the world to seal the 8 mana seeds in order to revive and empower the mana sword, and also find some companions along the way, in order for us to, in the end, defeat the evil that is currently reigning throughout this world. That is the short version of the plot. And a bit more here about the plot. We are getting called into the Elder's house, where we have been living apparently since we were a kid, and we have no idea who our parents are. The Elders just kind of took us in, and well, the villagers are now really scared because, well, we picked up the sword and the monsters seem to be after the sword. So they banish us from the village and we go on a journey to save the world. That's okay. You're doing great, glad to hear that, Blackie. I'm doing quite excellent as well. So either way, my next job is to level up my weapon to level 1 before I enter the Water Palace, which shouldn't be too many more enemies. 1 or 0 or 2 maybe. We'll see. I don't know whether I already leveled up the weapon. I actually lost track of numbers. So, that was 1. Oh, whoopsie. Still faster to kill this guy. There we go. Sword reaches level 1. And there we go. So, in most areas there can only be 3 enemies at any given point. Also, you don't talk to those soldiers. If you talk to those soldiers, you get kidnapped by a goblin after the Water Palace. That is actually what triggers those goblin kidnapping you. So if anyone has played this and got kidnapped by goblins and is wondering why we don't get kidnapped, that's why. It's basically, you either talk to the soldiers, you get kidnapped, or you don't talk to the soldiers, you don't get kidnapped. Obviously it's faster to not get kidnapped, because it's just a cutscene. So, either way, here the entire stuff that I just mentioned is going to be getting explained to us. And let me explain a bit more about the game's mechanics. So in this game, the early game especially is really volatile in the sense that you can die really quickly and easily, especially if you only have one character at your disposal. On top of that, as long as you don't have any proper equipment, enemies will deal a ton of damage, plus there is not much of an invulnerability whenever you get hit by enemies. They can just hit you again while you're on the ground already and can't do anything, and you get hit again before you can do anything at all, so they can potentially just combo you and completely kill you. Naturally, you want to avoid that from happening, so, well, you need to play well. Seeker of Mana in general is kind of a bit of a brutal speed game, in that small errors sometimes go unpunished by the game, and sometimes it just decides to, well, your run is going to die here now. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Obviously small errors in the wrong place would result in that. Usually small errors just result in a bit of a time loss. Depending on how the game feels, it's going to be more or less time lost. So here, is also going to be another feature. I'm going to be saving, then resetting. I reset by holding start, select L and R at the same time. And then I just skip 2 dialog boxes, and I also don't have to walk all the way out of the water palace. Also, after this, I will be switching my weapon over to the spear in order for me to level up the spear. So the sword is now level 1, it cannot get leveled up further, but for my purposes I want to have a second weapon at level 1 for other use later. So, going to start here. And once again I'm going to kill enemies to level up my weapon. I don't care about my character's level too much. It is handy to have a little bit higher of a character level. But this is what I'm doing here. So those three enemies. Once again I need to kill 11 enemies total in order to level up my secondary weapon. Oopsie. Unconscious means your character's just laying on the floor for a while. Also, that was a get-up attack. And here I wait in order to manipulate spawns here. If I go too fast, either the rabbit or the flower would not spawn right there. Since most screens can have up to 3 enemies loaded into the memory, that screen to the left here is a little bit special. This guy is the cannon travel guy. He allows us to, well, travel the world through just using his cannon service. I mean, it's almost like a bus ride. Just a bit faster, and you don't have to worry about catching the bus driver. You can always get shot over there anyways. So, either way, our bus has arrived. Let's go in here. And we can go straight into Gaia's Novel. There is no reason to go anywhere else. But before that, this is Nico. And you can buy items at his place, so you buy candy and some chocolate. Then we put our cursor in our regular inventory onto the chocolate. The game remembers we have the cursor onto the second item. And then we go and sell both items we have in our inventory, removing the items ring. However, if we try to go into the items sell menu again, the game kind of remembers that we did just have an items ring, so it needs to bring up something. However, because it doesn't have anything saved in there, it brings up the last ring menu that we had open, and that was the buying menu for now. What that allowed me to do is select any item slot in my inventory, even though those were just the items from Nico's inventory here. In reality, I sold Nico here literally nothing, and that allowed me to, well, get a ton of money, because nothing is apparently worth about 30,000 gold. That's why we get a ton of resources early and just, well, gold for the rest of the game essentially. I only need to sell a single blood item because I don't plan on getting any more items aside from that. So this is the Gaia's Novel, and I need to be pretty careful to not get killed by those guys. Since, as I said earlier, getting killed by those enemies here is a real threat. So I will just try to kill the goblins that are on my way, hope that I do not get ballooned, which, by the way, balloon is a 10-second crowd control by those bloods. And I will take the safe route here by just waiting until the slime eventually gets over here, and then we run past him. Trying to get past that slime quickly is really difficult and also mostly dangerous, so I just do that strategy, which costs me a few seconds, but at least I'm guaranteed to get past him without any trouble. I almost messed that up. So, my weapon skill is leveled up. That means my spear has leveled up to level 1. We found the magic rope and we're out of here. Magic rope allows me to exit any given cave or area or temple or anything like that. Wherever I'm allowed to use a magic rope, I get transported back to the entrance of an area. And there we go. This was the entirety of the cave. Now we're in the Dwarven village. The Dwarven village that we were told to go here in order to well, forge our weapons and get it strengthened again. And this guy here is Watts. Watts is a pretty awesome guy who can upgrade our weapons. For just 100 gold, he forges the rusty sword that we had into a nice little broadsword. Has higher attack damage bonus, and also, more importantly, we can now level up that weapon to level 2. So we can also charge up our weapon to level 2. And we will be using that. Other than that, we still have enough money to buy all the armor items that we can. And I'm going to buy enough armor for, well, both of my characters. So that's 2 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's that. 7 overalls and a helmet for the boy, a helmet for the sprite. Can I just pretend the lady doesn't exist, or do I need to mention that we're going to skip getting her early game? I guess I just said that. So now I stand in a specific place in this screen, and then I equip an armor and then throw it away. Oops. Equip an armor, throw it away. Equip an armor, throw it away. Equip an armor, throw it away. And what that does for me, also I equip the sword here, what that does for me is now I have proper armor equipped, but more importantly, I threw it away in a very specific location on the screen. That is what we call equipment trashing. For some reason, the game kind of bugs out when you throw away an item that you currently have equipped. And what essentially happens in short, if I stand on the correct position on the screen, the amount of items I have in my inventory get reduced by 2. Which means I just reduced all of my consumable items by 2 in amount, so I have from 0 candy, I now have from 2 candy, I now have 0 candy, 0 cups of wishes, 0 medical herbs, 0 barrels, 0 royal gems, etc. So, but because those items are still actually in my inventory, I can still use them. That means I can use them a total of 8 times before they run out, instead of the usual limit of 4. On top of that, it's faster to do it this way instead of just buying the usual limit. Whoa. That level just subscribed, thank you. I really appreciate that. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Hey Onjerf, how are you doing? Stream is going quite excellent, thank you. So, here is a first demonstration of me charging up the weapon. I'm now charging up the weapon to level 1. It executes a charge attack. And the level 1 charge attack is always that overhead swing for the boy. So what I'm doing here is I charge up the weapon to the Tropicalo, who normally can only get hit once every cycle, but if I have precise timing, I can hit him twice per cycle instead. So I just keep charging up my weapon and keep attacking him until he is defeated. Also, I avoid pumpkins by standing in specific spots. Secret of Mana is a bit weird in how you get hit or not get hit. Thank you for the good luck dot level. Really appreciate that. And there we go. If I was lucky, I could have killed Tropicalo with this hit, but it's less than, I think, 36% chance of that happening, so usually you kill him on the 5th cycle. Boom. Boring. Also here, after enemy boss kills, we got a spear orb. Spear orbs are, or orbs in general, are used to upgrade a weapon, and you would do that in casual play. However, in speedruns, we actually have all the weapon upgrades that we need, at least for this category specifically. Also, if we finally get a second party member, that means I can use my 3rd controller. So yes, alrighty. We also need to name him. And this sprite, by the way, if you heard me say him, the sprite is actually a male in the French and English versions, it is female in the German version, and it is gender neutral in the Japanese version, in case there is any confusion about that. Tomorrow at 4:30 PM CET Blacky Lotus is going to be my start with Goose Troop, and 5 PM should approximately be my Seeker of Mana run in the SNS Superstars Marathon. So, either way, we move over here, and then I'm going to set up my second controller in a way that I'm used to, and also equip the sprite with some basic, well, equipment. Afterwards, I will briefly explain as to why I'm using the third controller instead of the second one. If you watch the sprite's icon in the bottom of the screen, you will see in the top right corner of his icon, there will be a 3 appearing instead of a 2. I'm using the third controller for the second character instead of the second one. And that has a specific reason, and this is called the category for Multitap. So, and here I set up my controller to be upside down, which means my controller D-pad is now exactly the wrong way around. And you can see the sprite is now no longer controlled by AI controlled characters, because I decided to unselect him. So, ordinarily in Seeker of Mana, if you unselect the character, you need to do so while you have control over that character. You cannot normally unselect the character during cutscenes or screen transitions, except if you have a multitap, and that's the entire reason as to why you use a multitap. So what that does is, multitaps have a special flipping switch here. Here, this is a switch I can turn on and off, and basically that tells the Super Nintendo as to whether there is a third controller connected or not. If I switch it off, it is just kind of like a usual second controller slot. The game doesn't expect the third controller, but if it's on, it does expect the third controller. So Seeker of Mana has a special functionality programmed in that is exclusive to Seeker of Mana, and whenever the third controller is not active anymore, oh whoopsie, wrong way. Whenever the third controller is not active anymore, that's actually pretty decent. Whenever the third controller is not active anymore because I flipped off the switch, it will automatically give the control over to being AI controlled, which is really handy for our purposes, since we can't just kind of do things with those that you're not intended. You can do already a lot of things that are not intended in this game, and that just kind of adds to the pile of glitchy stuff essentially. Also, what we just did there is what we call the girl skip. You're supposed to go through the front entrance through Eleni's forest in order to get to this castle here. But what we did is instead we used the back entrance to get here. And what that allows us to do is we can just skip getting the girl early game. Normally you have to fight 2 werewolves in order to free her, and then she is just kind of a third character training behind you. And in this game, if you have multiple characters, they can only be so far apart on the screen from each other, which means it's actually a bit awkward at times having to control or having multiple characters. In a sense, it is actually faster to have only 2 characters in order for you to navigate and run through specific areas of the game. And that's what I'm doing here. I skip getting the third character. And here you can see her in the text box. Her name was really messed up. We are supposed to have a lady in our party now. And her name is just go 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 go, I believe. That is 12 times go, or a total of 24 characters worth of a name, which is pretty bad since normally you want to have only single character names in this game, as this is a lot faster than having, well, having the game display multiple characters for a name every time. Since each character in the text boxes is displayed in, well, individually. So, the boy just leveled up his weapon. Oops, I messed up. The boy just leveled up his weapon to the next level. Also, I tend to control multiple characters at a time in various areas of the screens, not just bosses, but that is basically more refined multiple controller mechanics. And I do not know Blood, I do not know. Greetings, Pom Pocket. Pom Pom Pocket. How are you doing? I actually didn't count the goals. I just pretended it. So either way, here is the reason as to why we go for multiple weapon level ups. So, sword is leveled up to level 2, we give the boy a level 1 spear into the hand, the game freaks out, and we kill the Spiky Tiger in a single hit. Spiky Tiger normally is one of the more difficult bosses to beat. And also, what I just did there is a wideout skip. If you step on a trigger like this door entrance here, for example, at the exact same time that the game wants to execute the wideout for when you defeat the boss, you actually skip that wideout and it saves a few seconds of lag frames. As in about 2 or 3 seconds or so. I don't know how much exactly, it's a lot. Careful! So yeah, Spiky Tiger has about, I don't know, 560 HP or so. Or 360? I don't even know. Either way, it's not enough for us to not one-shot him. So what essentially happened there, also we have a new weapon, the whip, which is what you normally use to jump across gaps instead of walking through walls like I did. So what normally happens in order for you to... What normally happens? No. What happens with the overcharge attack is that I put essentially a level 2 charge attack on a level 1 weapon, that is the spear. The level 2 charge attack is not supposed to be on a level 1 weapon. The game kind of freaks out and increases your charge level by 1 every 2 frames, which essentially means we execute a charge attack of about level 60 or 70 in order to just one-shot bosses and deal maximum damage. Maximum damage in this game is 999, usually a bit less than that because of enemy defense being calculated after that. So this is the way how you're normally supposed to cross a gap, with rope poles attached to them. So, alrighty. And here we go. We go into this area here, and let me demonstrate it again. Level 1 spear instantly jumps up to level 2 sword, then it jumps up to way too much charge level, and we just one-shot the poor little bosses. That's generally what is going to be happening. This boss here only has 600 HP in the first form, 777 in the second form, but we only need to deal 600 in one go in order to just straight up defeat him. Sorry, Chas, about that. A toy knife. Don't worry, those are also toy guns. So, either way, I'm going to be running outside this cave with the third controller here, and then I flip the switch on the multitap in order to unselect the third controller. Watch this. Run outside, flip the switch, and now the third controller is no longer active, and that is so convenient being able to unselect your secondary controllers just during screen transitions like that. It is really nice. However, there's a reason why most people don't run the multitap category, since we actually recently-ish decided to split up the categories into multitap and no multitap. Some of the reasons are that in order to play the multitap category, well, you obviously need to have a multitap, which That's a bit difficult to acquire. On top of that, you need to play on a Super Nintendo. You cannot do this properly on emulator, and you cannot do this at all on Virtual Console. It's just not possible to use the functionality of this button here. So that's kind of limiting for a lot of people that, well, don't have multitaps. On top of that, I recently found a different method for a skip that saves about 3 or 4 minutes, if you get lucky. So, let me be honest, I think the main reason why we decided to finally split up the categories, aside from the fact that it didn't save all that much time up until recently with multitap. It was just mostly for convenience and saved about 25 seconds, around that order. However, with that new skip saving that much time, or more, yeah, it's a new skip. With that skip saving this much time, on top of it, more importantly, it doesn't just save that much time, but it's actually really dumb. Since what you need to do is, during that skip, you have to farm an enemy and hope he drops a chest in order to be able to run through a wall. If you don't get a chest drop, well, you cannot actually properly continue. Also, the balloon there is essentially a crowd control. It doesn't do anything else aside from stun your character for about 8 seconds. Which is pretty bad for the first place, but medical herb cures almost all abnormal status conditions, which is pretty awesome. Either way, farming a chest for that other skip is pretty stupid, and you will see that later on in this run here. Good morning, Hotshot, how are you doing? Also, a chest drop is a 1 in 16 chance. But I will be doing this today and tomorrow, just to demonstrate the route, since I don't think it's necessarily been publicly known that, well, this kind of skip now exists. And since we also pretty much reverted back to no multitap categories, for the most part, since most of the people aside from me and Stinger have been running no multitap categories, it kind of makes sense. So, alrighty, he's not dead, which means... Oh, never mind, he was dead. I do a bit of a safety strategy against the Fire Gigas, since, as you may know, we are supposed to have 3 characters in our party. Fire Gigas uses spells that distributes its damage to all of your characters that are currently alive. If you have only 1 character in your party, he gets 1 shot no matter what, unless you overlevel tremendously. If you have 2 characters in your party, they... If you have 2 characters in your party, they also tend to get 1 shot. At least the sprite at this low level and HP pool gets 1 shot. Usually this boy survives 1 hit if he has full HP. But the Fire Gigas can throw multiple spells at you in succession, which, well, would be pretty dangerous. So I casted a spell with the sprite just to make sure that the sprite would survive. Since the sprite actually is completely invulnerable while casting a spell, and so will the girl be when she's casting a spell. They cannot get hurt at all until the spell is completed. There, how are you doing, Hotshot? Good morning. Hope you're doing well, sir. So, also, let's see. Earlier in the SNES Superstars Marathon, which is what I'm currently practicing a bit for, Crow actually ran the 1-player, 1-controller category for this game. And as you may have noticed, I'm using multiple controllers. And the general assumption is that must be really difficult, right? Well, it's not easy, but playing this game with just 1 controller is actually more difficult because of how it works. If you have proper control over multiple characters, that allows you to do a lot more things at the same time. More importantly, we have a reliable way to control our overcharge attacks in order to defeat bosses reliably, instead of having to kind of rely on the AI control characters doing their stuff. So there is a method to do the overcharge attacks with just one controller. However, doing that is a bit of a mess. Since on one hand you cannot retain your charge attack, which by the way, that's what I'm doing. Whenever I open the menu on the secondary controller, I tend to not just see which charge attacks I'm going to get, but I will also be able to keep that charge attack for my next attack on top of it, and I can just repeatedly keep it until I beat the boss essentially, unless I make a mistake, that is. The one control category does not have that option, so it would need to redo the charge attack again and again and again. Just kind of hope the AI control characters do hit the bosses and they hit the correct timing. It is just so much more difficult. So, in order to mostly avoid that, even though you do use that overcharge attack, the multi-category at the single controller category tends to use also magic as a mix. So it uses physical attacks and magic, which is actually pretty interesting in how it works out. And well, I'm just using two controllers. I can fully rely on my physical attacks here. So, the next boss here is a wall. The middle portion of the wall is the thing that you want to hit in order to kill him. The wall face has a lot of HP. If I get a low damage roll, which basically you either get a low damage roll or not, like it's 20% chance or so. If I get a low damage roll, he will not die. On top of that, he is the first boss in this game who has a 30%, actually more like 40% chance to completely evade my attacks. As in, it's just pure chance. You either hit him or you don't. 40% of the time he will dodge. So let's see whether we will hit him here. I prepare my overcharge attack and will execute hopefully the correct one in order to hit the wall. There it is, that's the correct one. And boom, he gets one shot. Cannon travel. Nice. So, this is a one-shot on the wall face. It's actually a bit less than a 50% chance to one-shot the wall face, so it's kind of lucky to get it. And if you don't get it, well, that can be pretty ugly on various bosses, since from now on, bosses will either have evasion or a bit later, not too much in the future, they will have enough HP to survive more than one hit. What that means for us is we will need to be more and more flexible on how we handle boss fights. It's not as simple or straightforward as it may look. So far everything has gone well, but in Seeker of Mana pretty much every place has a chance to fail in a sense. For example, me running through the Pandora Fields now to get back to Gaia's Navel, that can go wrong in the sense that it just cost me some time. So in this case, stuff going wrong wouldn't be devastating or anything like that. However, stuff going wrong in the wrong places in a sense can cost you either a lot of time, like minutes, or if you are unlucky, then can even completely kill your run. Obviously, generally we try to avoid those kinds of situations, so we'll see how that's going to go. Good afternoon, guy. How are you doing? I hope all is well. So, here's a example of AI control characters behaving in strange ways when there are enemies close to them. They just try to engage in combat with them essentially when they get close enough, and they focus on that enemy and they are pretty hard to control at times. However, if you run, AI control characters always move in a specific way and tend to ignore enemies when you start running. We take advantage of that in order to control our AI controlled partners to the point where we can, well, properly lead them around without them getting stuck everywhere. Even though that will happen once in a while anyways. For example, if I just run up right here, I would get the boy stuck in the stairway, which is pretty awkward. You're great, glad to hear that. I'm having a lovely day as well, thank you. So, alrighty. Here we have the Kilroy, kind of like Wallface. We have less than a 50% chance to one-shot him. The downside on this guy, if I miss, is that he could hit the boy. He didn't here, fortunately, but he could hit the boy, and that would mean that he could get moogled, since Kilroy, whenever he hits you with his attacks, he has a pretty high chance, like 60% or so, to moogle your characters, which means moogles cannot attack. And because I cannot attack, I actually lose my charge attack and I would have to redo it. So that could potentially be a pretty big time loss. Also, that was an example of a low damage roll. Even though I did essentially overcharge enough to completely destroy that poor guy, it was not enough damage because he decided to, well, have a low damage roll on him. Which essentially means the enemy's evasion kicked in a different way. Yeah. But so far so good. Everything has been fine. I will probably save tomorrow before engaging Viagigas and Jabberwocky. I'm not sure whether I need to do that, since ordinarily it's not that much of an issue as long as you play it proper. But it can go wrong. Kilroy hype, best worst robot. Kilroy is awesome, and I have the proof. Hello! I would like to point out this was drawn by Jazz. It's really neat. I love the little Kilroy. He is so derpy. So, alrighty. Here I actually control two characters in order for me to go into this next area properly. Well, I'll try to go properly in there anyways. Also, I have the wrong character on the wrong character. The wrong controller on the wrong character. So I need to correct that before I go anywhere. Alrighty. Also a bit awkward, not as intended, but we still got through. Are those your world record splits? Technically yes, but I'm just running against my average amount of splits. So this is not actually a record. My record is about 4 minutes faster than the displayed time, so I would have to gain more than 4 minutes in order to beat the record. So, and here we have Kilroy. Kilroy is really strange. His hitbox is way further below his feet than you would imagine. On top of that, in boss battles, your weapons have twice the amount of reach than you would assume they have. And we can just one-shot him from really, really, really far away. And so we do. Grimer's dancing. For anyone who's wondering what those weird Yaga thingies are and doesn't display an emoticon, there is an add-on called Franker Faces with a Z at the end. And that add-on allows you to add additional emoticons to your channel, but only to your channel. So it's a bit restrictive, plus the, oopsie, people need to have the add-on in order to display it. Also here, this is the first example of me using the multitap. As you can see, I can run around while the text box is displaying. Essentially, I talk to Luca with the third controller, and then just unselected the third controller via multitap and was able to run to the entrance already. which is pretty convenient because, well, that allows us to straight up go some places without having to wait. I'm going to be doing the same thing again in the next area here. I'm going to talk with the cannon travel guy with the third controller, which allows me to go to the upper lands, and there's always a cutscene at the beginning of the upper lands. So I disable the multitap here now with the switch. Bing, bing. And that means the third controller is no longer being controlled by, well, the third controller, and instead AI, and I can walk around during the cutscene as well. And greetings, Fina. How are you doing? And Red1393, thank you for the auto host. Wait, for the host, thank you, appreciate that. So, what I'm trying to do here is advance the text box and then talk to one of the Muggles as close to the exit as possible, and then we just go. So this two little thing is just saved me about 25 seconds compared to not having multitap. So it's not all that much, you would think. But there is later on, well, as I said, a larger script, but mostly random RNG dependent, as to whether it even works properly or not. That can save a fair bit more time. Which is why, as I said, we decided to split up the categories like that. So here, I tried to hit the pebblers with overcharge attacks, and wow, that was really quick. And then just leave the screen. So you need to kill the pebblers in order to advance the plot here, so your sprite remembers how to go home. And then you need to go through the Forest of Seasons in order to open up the passageway. Once again, disable the third controller during a screen transition allows me to already move before I'm ordinarily allowed to move. And the owls over there, those blue owl guys, they usually try to cast silence on you, which can be rather awkward. But it's not all that bad. So silence means your character controls are inverted. On top of that, obviously you can't cast spells, but character controls being inverted can be pretty bad for you, since it even inverts your controls inside the menu, which is a bit awkward. So what I'm doing here now is I wait until the character controls are back to normal, and then I'm actually engaging the boss in combat. Since the silence effect was off, since also my strategy for this boss here is very, very specific. That's unfortunate. And if he decides to cast a spell, I could hit him initially already, if I'm lucky like that. However, I wasn't lucky enough, or more specifically, I actually messed up. Nice, that was pretty quick anyways. I actually messed up just a little bit there. What happened was, I was too close to Springbeak in order to hit him. Let me explain. Springbeak is one of those bosses who has a shield. If you hit the shield, your damage or your attack gets completely negated. It doesn't do anything. So because I hit his beak, his shield, at the same time as I hit his body, I didn't deal any damage to him. So I needed to be further away from him in order to only hit his body instead of hitting his beak. I should have noticed that and adjusted the controller accordingly, but I wasn't entirely sure whether it was too close. But whenever you hear that high-pitched zing on a boss or anything like that, that means your attack got negated. With some exceptions, that means you don't deal any damage. The exceptions are the Mech Rider enemies and Vampire. You can sometimes hear a zing noise, but they still get hit afterwards. It's kind of strange on how it works on those guys. So, we just got Sylph, and also we are supposed to seal the mana seed. We don't have to. If you noticed, we also didn't seal the mana seed of Earth, because it's just, well, not required, so we don't. in other categories where you use magic, you want to seal the mana seeds, otherwise you cannot actually level up, oopsie, your spells any further than what they currently are at. We can only level up to level 1 with our spells because we sealed 1 mana seed so far in the Water Palace. And that would be it. But we don't need that since we can just evade those guys, no problem anyways. Because we have overcharged weapons, overpowered, overcharged, one way or another, we kill them quickly. So here I need to equip the axe with the boy in order to whack away those stones to get through. Whoa! Oh, not again! Never on parade! Irma, my prawn, thank you so much for supporting me for 7 drops in a row. Welcome back and thank you so much. Whoa, the mushroom went in my way, that's rare. So here we do a tiny skip. Normally you're supposed to talk to the Mushroom King, but we can just instead run through that area. And here I'm controlling 2 controllers at the same time, because this is way faster than trying to maneuver with an AI controlled cactus behind you. Thank you so much, Irma, my prom. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So, alrighty. Wow. He attacked me without even attacking me. That's kind of weird. So I use the 2 controllers to run through the beginning section of this area, because that is way simpler and also a bit faster than what I normally do with, well, just 1 controller. And here I give the control back to being AI controlled, since that is actually more what I'm used to. So I swing there once with the whip and the second time, and it's actually not necessarily to hit those enemies, although it would help if I actually hit them too. But the main reason why I swing there is to delay me getting into the range of those owls. The owls will start casting silence as the first action they do, almost all the time when they spawn. But if I just load them into the memory and then just wait a little bit before I enter their area, it allows me to kind of skip that initial silence spell cast. They can still cast silence afterwards, but it's less likely for them to do that. So here, Great Viper, here's the first boss. To have more than 1000 HP. Unfortunately, he decided to go a different way than I expected him to. Makes it a bit awkward, but we still win. With a little bit of a time loss, but not too bad. But still a pretty decent area. I'm not going to complain here. And greetings to you, Simpty Simpbart, or Simpty Simpbart. Hope you're doing well. So, next up, we have another little cutscene. Let me use that cutscene to drink something real quick. Alrighty, so far we have only had 2 characters in our party, which was sufficient. And the downside of only having 2 characters is you have much less options to recover in case an enemy hits you. Especially if an enemy hits both of your characters at the same time. It can be that you die rather quickly if that happens in the wrong place, or both characters get caught at the same time, stuff like that. So approximately now it would be convenient to have a 3rd character back in our party. And interestingly enough, that's actually pretty much exactly what is going to be happening. We do gain a 3rd character into our party, or more specifically, we regain her. So what is happening here? We go to the desert first. You have the option to go to the ice country or to the desert. The Kalkara desert is where we go first. Because if you try to go to the ice country first, you cannot fly directly back to Kakara. You have to go via the mushroom village here and then via this continent over to the desert, because that's how they programmed getting lost in the desert, essentially. And your towels in the laundry are so wet they're too heavy for the dryer to dry them. Oh wow. That's a bit ugly. I didn't technically save time blocked in the previous split. I saved time compared to my average split. But I'm pretty sure my record run should have a better time on the Great Viper. Also, it's technically still a time loss, even if I save time compared to the splits, I guess. It really depends on how you want to look at it. So either way, we get lost in the desert, we randomly happen to find a Sandship, and then our party gets split up. The boy gets sent into the machine room where he's supposed to, I guess, generate some heat by walking around and looking at boxes. I think that is how energy is generated in this universe. The sprite gets sent to the kitchen where he eats all of the food, and well, the lady gets sent to the surgeon's cabin or whatever, some of the dude's cabins, where she's supposed to do other stuff. Interesting enough, we don't have the lady yet in our party, but because we recruit her into our party right here, she will now still be a fully functional member of our party. I need to talk to this guy up there twice. I actually activated something that is called a remote talk by pressing the B button on the first possible frame after I got control over my character, which is a bit odd, but I can do that. And Hexus, thank you! Thank you so much, Hexus, for the 30 bits. I really appreciate that. Rabbi gets fed. Rumps. Oh, you need to go? Thank you so much, Hexus. Have a nice evening and have a nice day. Good luck to you. Tacos! So, as I said, ordinarily your party gets split up entirely and the lady's here, but here is technically where we meet the lady for the first time. So, fun fact, she actually doesn't have a name, and by default the game in the English version gives her the name go 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 go. In the Japanese version her name is just blank, and I don't know what about the other versions. And here we go. We go and defeat the last boss, who does not have more than 1000 HP, which means he is the last boss I can just one-shot. Whoopsie. I messed up the menu there. Ooh. Missing this guy multiple times is really bad for you. Like really bad. So far it went pretty well for me missing him this often, but it can get really ugly if I keep missing. Wow. Okay, this is an example of the 40% chance to miss kicking in again and again and again and again and again, and I have to keep adjusting to this boss. He can be a lot worse than what he just did. He just decided to charge back down to the right, which is due to my positioning correctly, but it's actually really difficult to have this kind of backup for this specific boss. Either way, the lady just leveled up from having 45 HP to 104, so she did gain a fair bit of HP here, which is pretty awesome. Skipping the girl isn't possible in PAL version. It should be possible actually in the PAL version as well. So either way, we go and buy some equipment here in the desert, which will be our final set of equipment that we'll have for the rest of the game. We upgrade it here because overall it saves you more time than it loses to buy this equipment, since the enemies in the upcoming areas are pretty vicious and you really don't want to, well, take too much damage from them. In Secret of Mana, when you get hit for more than 25% of your maximum HP, also we use Ice Saber here in order to enchant the weapon with Frost. If you get hit for more than 25% of your maximum HP, you get knocked down to the floor instead of just knocked back, which takes a lot longer to recover from. So buying armor here is actually pretty good to... even if you get hit once, you just lose a second over not having better armor, etc. Also, frost weapons in Frost Country might seem counterintuitive, but the only reason why we even get frost weapons is because we now have 3 attacks on each of the characters to try and hit enemies and put them into harmless snowmen. So we have about a 90% chance to turn them into a snowman with each hit. Snowman, snowman. And snowman. So that was a pretty good first screen. Those wolves are ridiculous. They are playing tame right now, but they can be really vicious and attack you way too quick. So, they attack really fast, they have a really long range in their attack, and just trying to hit them can result in being rather difficult. So I hit this guy and we are through, at least for the first portion. But this went pretty well actually. And here we have another Tropic Hollow type enemy. This guy is called the Boreal Face. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to kill off the lady. And also trying to hit the Boreal Face here. Nice. Too early. Alrighty, I guess that didn't quite work with killing off the lady, but that's alright. The reason why I want to kill her off is so she stays lower level and has less maximum HP, so she can die quicker early. But it's not worth waiting for her for that, since it's literally just one more hit that it takes later on, which is about 4 or 5 seconds. So if I spend more than 4 and 5 seconds to prevent her leveling up, then it's already not worth it. Either way, what we do here is we talk to this guy. Oh, I messed up. I need to actually move the sprite up there too. We talk to those guys, then we use the secondary controller in order for us to walk onto this podium. Normally when you walk onto this podium, this guy in green is telling you, hey, I need to go somewhere for little boys real quick, can you pay attention that no one opens the oven? And you say, sure, why not? And then you open the oven anyways, because someone is knocking in there. Turns out to be Salamando, the fire spirit, which gives you fire spells. And then the entire village here goes back to being snowy, because they no longer have Salamando's warmth. Also, this cutscene is completely messed up, because of how I skipped the first portion of it. It is one step behind pretty much everywhere. Which is actually a pretty good explanation as to what I'm going to be doing in just a, well, minute here. Normally you're supposed to go then to the Ice Palace to... You're supposed to go to the Ice Palace in order for you to retrieve the mana seed of fire and bring it back to the Fire Palace because it has been stolen. But we can do that differently. And ABG just subscribed with Twitch Prime, thank you! Welcome back for 2 runs in a row. Really appreciate that, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Really awesome. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate your support. So, alrighty, let's see this. I'm going to be moving here and here, and then I'm going to be using... Oh my god. I'm going to be using a trick. I'm going to explain that real quick. What I'm doing here is I'm equipping the boy and the sprite with a barrel before I enter the fire palace. And then I'm going to be doing something else. Right, boy gets barreled. I'm running up here, I'm casting heal on everybody. Switch to the boy. Tell the lady to put a barrel on herself. Switch to the lady, hold up. And we fly up the ramp. So, alrighty. Marble86 just subscribed with Switch Prime as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Welcome back as well. You guys are awesome. So to explain what just happened there, barrels are really weird in this game. Essentially when you get healed while you are inside a barrel and you are moving in a specific direction, you just slide in that direction unhindered except for walls and collision, and you just fly, so to speak, without conveyor belts or NPCs or anything like that hindering your movement. However, what that also means... Wait, NPCs? No, I think I tested that. What that also means is... Also walk through walls. What that also means is... You can't just ignore that ramp that is at the beginning of the fire palace. These are orbs I'm activating with spells, with the sprite here. You cast them and essentially a passage opens. What you're supposed to do is you go through the cellar and move through the passageway in the cellar in order for you to activate another orb that is down there. But I actually skip activating that orb that is in the cellar for a specific reason. That orb down there is... essentially part of the event chain that happens in the fire palace. So, normally when you go to the fire palace before you complete the ice palace, the game will let you get until here. And then it tells you inside the mana seed room here, oh, the mana seed of fire has been stolen, we need to go and retrieve it. But because we messed up the event chain by not activating the orb that is in the basement to open up the passage, it kind of forgets that the mana seed should have been stolen, and we just seal it anyways, and that is the trigger for us to move into the next area via cannon travel. Greetings to you, Marble. I hope you're doing well, and thank you so much. And also ABG, I hope you're doing well. Wow, thank you so much, ABG. I really appreciate that. And I can confirm, my viewers are really awesome. And really nice. Which is awesome. So, this is the last cannon travel. Let's go. So, alrighty. This game has so many little tricks and skips, it's impossible to point all of them out in just a single run. Well, unless I'm just going that slow that I deliberately try to point everything out. Either way, there's another little skip coming up here. What you're supposed to do in this village here is you're supposed to talk to a lady named Mara in the top left of the village for her to give you an entrance key to the sewers, and with that key you can then talk to the guy and he will give you entrance to the sewer system in order for us to get to the next city. So what we do here instead is we align ourselves at the top of the wall. Is that aligned? It is aligned. And then we just run past the guard, which is supposed to trigger when you get close to him. But because we just straight up run past him, when perfectly aligned with the wall, we do not activate his little trigger. And so, well, we never get to input the password, and we just skip that portion. Which is pretty simple and straightforward. So here I am using Balloon in order to get past those blue slimes. Blue slimes are, well, pretty rough to try and get past. Essentially, whenever they hit you, they have a really high chance to turn your allies into snowmen, which is obviously no good since that just takes a while to resolve, or you need to use a medical herb. Overall, really not that great if you get turned into snowman. However, what you do instead is you just balloon them and they cannot do anything anymore. That was actually a really good sewer segment. I find it funny when people saying this game is very well programmed in sarcastic tone. JRPG is in general extremely complex system on its own. Add active battle and you'll have a lot more fun codebase. Yeah. Honestly, with all its flaws, I can see this game being really well done overall other than that, as in what we see is generally just kind of the stuff that doesn't work or is obviously glitchy and is not how it should work. But outside of that, it's kind of difficult to understand as a layman, I think that's the layman, to understand how much actually goes into making this stuff work in the first place that you just kind of assume is working. Like those little fires on the left and the right in the windows or whatever those are, that's kind of all part of the game, really. Either way, this game does have its obvious flaws, but I really like it for what it is. On top of that, it actually makes a really good speedrun with all the glitches and oddities, since pretty much none of the glitches are particularly detrimental to you. Well, I guess with the exception of a few soft locks, which hopefully shouldn't happen. The stairs in this game kill me more than enemies, fair enough. You have a yellow one, the yellow little pogo pushel. Indeed. I really like the chat badge, it's really sweet. So, alrighty. This is a pretty good area to demonstrate. We have a plan for everything. Except everything can go wrong. And I mean that as I can say it. So, in this room we just dash straight down, most of the time that works. In this room we do the exact same thing, we just dash straight down. In this room we dash straight to the left, etc. The thing is, pretty much every room can go wrong. Most of the rooms require to make a tiny mistake. Other rooms like this one can go really wrong just because the enemies decide to get into your way and then boom, that happens. So I just lost a few seconds right there because that enemy decided to go to the right side. Most of the time he stays still, goes left, up or down, which does not affect us at all, but sometimes that can happen. So here, we activate the third controller, you wait, whoop, and then you go onto the switch. Then you deactivate the third controller, and I can use the multitap for that, because I'm lazy. And also it's really convenient to be able to do so. Did I activate the multitap again? I did. So afterwards, we go here, and we move over here. Oop. Activate the third controller once again to get into this door over here a bit quicker. Deactivate the multitap. And here, I actually want to hit this guy, because ordinarily he actually hits you if you do the perfect movement through the room, or the theoretically perfect movement. I activate 2 controllers in this section. I kind of hope he kills the sprite here. Thank you. And this room here is way easier to traverse with just 2 controllers. I tried to spawn the I Spy in the bottom left corner, but unfortunately I kind of messed that up. If I do that properly, I can spawn enemies in a different area, which allows me to completely ignore one of the enemy spawns that normally spawns, since, well, we don't spawn him. Either way, that wasn't too bad. It worked out pretty fine, with only minor bumps and hiccups. Alrighty, this is wall face number 2, or Doom's Wall. And the special thing about this guy is you do not want to kill both eyes. Trust me. That is one eye dead, and that's okay. It's actually pretty much optimal to do that. Boom. That is actually pretty much optimal. That was a pretty good segment actually overall. So, let's see, what did I miss? Bada bim. let's go. If you kill off both eyes on the Doom's Wall, it goes into a special phase where it drags around one of your characters with physical damage crowd control. It's a very special ability that doesn't happen anywhere else. And the other one, another character that is the closest gets hit with a cave-in ability. It's pretty rough to try and recover from that, since usually you want to have at least control over 2 characters in order to execute your overcharge attacks. So you really want to avoid hitting both of the eyes and killing them. The crushing against the spikes only happens again with the first Doom's Wall if you kill both eyes there, which usually happens more often in comparison because you're not that used to the system yet, and we may not have figured out at that point that magic is really broken in this game and really powerful. So, okay, here is going to be Vampire. Vampire is one of those bosses, if he stays in the air, as in flying, I cannot hit him. But if he comes down, I need to be prepared. Give me a second. Alrighty, worked out perfectly well. Could it be executed slightly better, but this was pretty much as good as the vampire fight gets. Vampire has the tendency to try and eat your character if you place them in front of him after you hit him once. If he decides to not even go to the ground, hitting him once is actually just kind of impossible in the first place, but if he comes down like that, I can make it that I can get in 5 or 6 attacks before he gets the chance to fly away, if I play properly. That's only if I play properly. And it worked out quite fine here, so that's nice. The thing is, the vampire needs at least 3 hits to get killed. He has actually more HP than most other enemies, so that can be a bit awkward for your players. On top of that, the normal level 1 charge attack or standard slash attack that we try to use in this area usually transforms into a different attack for some reason. It's a bit hard to tell as to why, but that's kind of what happens. So here, I did not manage to kill off the lady often enough, so that means she will need likely... Oh, never mind. Almost. Oh no, kill her please. She potentially only needed 2 hits in order to be killed. Unfortunately, I kind of messed that up a bit, so I lost a little bit of time. But it could have been 2 hits if I was lucky. So, the thing is, we needed that character in order to skip the next boss. The next boss would be the Mecha-Mantis, which is actually kind of a copy of the first boss, but a bit more difficult, especially if you try to hit him with physical attacks. It's actually pretty difficult to hit him with physical attacks, so skipping him makes it a lot easier. Good evening, Atlantic Wolf, how are you doing? How is it going? Rabbit found the vampire cape in the food box too. Nice. So, alrighty. Give me a second. No, too far. No. Alrighty, we kind of managed to do it. A bit slow, but it's okay. What I did there is I let the ghost walk through NPCs, and taking advantage of the weird pathing the game essentially does in this game. I managed to just kind of sneak the ghost through the NPCs behind them, and well, we just go into the next area without fighting this entire plot here. Where we get caught in prison, we need to find Mantis Ant, and then we fight our way through this castle with tons of enemies. We just go straight to the top instead. Why not pick me the goal at this point to kill her faster? I do not have the Mitch Mallet in this category, otherwise that would be a good idea. So, alrighty, we have Mech Rider number 2 here. The most important thing is to not hit him more than once without actually killing him. So that was one attack. That is good. Perfect. Alrighty, and the sprite's weapon just leveled up to level 1, which is all we ask for. No, I'm not delicious. So, alrighty, we now have access to Flammy. And you see that doppelganger split? We don't do this in this category anymore. We actually have a different method to do this entire thing in this specific category. So, this is going to be a bit difficult, and I will likely not be talking too much during it. But the short version is, I'm going to go and create a corrupted save frame by flying to the ice country and save at the Frost Forest Nico. The reason why that's a corrupted save file is because we land here and we never enter the game at the area normally, so the save file does not have any location saved in its file, which means it does not have any information as to where to start if you start a new game. So starting this or loading this save file normal way would just crash the game. But if you hold start, select L and R for a few seconds, the current location is not being erased from the memory, so you can essentially keep the location where you currently are at and load that save file, and it will load you into that screen. I'm going to be loading that save file into the beginning cutscene. What that does for me is it kind of messes the cutscene up a bit. We get teleported to Podos with invisible characters. Invisible characters can be used to walk through walls, as long as an event is running. An event can be a text box, it can be some NPC interaction, or you opening a chest. And I will be taking advantage of a text box first, in order for me to walk through walls and get into the Grand Palace without doing any of the previous things. And afterwards I will be using a chest to run through vault inside the Grand Palace. This is a different section compared to other categories, and this is only possible with a multitap. So what I'm doing here is I load this save file. I have invisible characters now. I need to make one character visible, at least. Actually, I'm going to make 2 characters visible. And so what I'm doing here is I'm going to the Tree Palace here. The Tree Palace ordinarily just kind of throws you out because you cannot go anywhere. You're not allowed to. So what I'm doing here is I make the girl and the boy visible by just healing them. I activate the third controller, deactivate the first controller, and then go into this thing here. Then I deactivate the multitap, and now I can walk through walls because the text box is still playing. I go into the Grand Palace from the front just because the thing is still there. The sprite is still invisible, and because I have at least one invisible character in my party, I am allowed to walk through walls. What I do in here now is, instead of doing the normal path where you activate 8 mana seeds in order to progress through the entirety of the Grand Palace, actually it's only 7 mana seeds, or orbs actually. What I'm doing here instead is, I need to reset this. That's not what it should happen here. It's alright. I need to now revive the boy. And here I have to kill enemies. More specifically, I need to hope that this enemy gives me a chest drop. I have to get a chest drop in order to walk through wall here. I can see whether there's another enemy over here in order to try and kill him too. I get a chest drop here, that is fine too. And this is the main reason as to why we decided to split up the categories, since unless I get a chest drop, I cannot run through the wall. There is no natural chest in this room, so I just need to get lucky. It's a 1 in 16 chance for an enemy to drop a chest. So good luck. Nope. No chest drop. And that can take a while. I hope it doesn't take too long. Might actually be a 1 in 8 chance for chest drops. Also, of course, the enemy here can dodge your attacks. So far I've been lucky that they didn't dodge. Chose the wrong charge attack, but it's okay. No chest, and yeah, as you can see, that's just kind of purely luck dependent. If we don't get a chest, well, too bad. Oh, I actually didn't scroll the screen far enough to the left in order for me to spawn the turtle on the right. So that doesn't exactly help. Oh, not just. We level up a few times, because why not? How much time will that give save? I think we calculated it to be about 4 minutes. If you get the chest drop first try. Whip reaches level 1. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. Also, my splits are not reflecting the thing properly. Playing 2 characters at once? Yes, indeed. Usually I only play 2 characters at once in specific areas. Or, well, the better I get, the more areas I include to play 2 characters at the same time. But hey. This kind of works too. So this is actually pretty bad if you get hit with the boy. Since those enemies deal a lot of damage for our, well, really crappy armor, really. Oh, there we go, chest. So, I need to put the chest somewhere over here. And then I just open the chest, and walk through the wall. So then we push the buttons here. And actually I need to have the lady over here. Makes it easier. Push this button. This spawns the enemy in the main area earlier. Then I have the lady keep walking over here. Through this wall. Put the party over there. We can walk through walls, yes. And I'm actually going to equip Javelin. Oh, Boomerang is better for this. In order for us to be able to enter this area here. So what that does is I activated the rope pole event. If I didn't do it like this... Oh, that's bad. If I didn't do it like this, what would have happened is that the text box that tells me I cannot go here yet is still here active in the main room, which would be pretty bad for us. But we kind of want to avoid that from happening, and well, we just defeat the little lizards anyways, despite that. By activating the rope hold event earlier. So also we are actually at Hexus already. So despite it taking me really long time to farm that chest, it still saves time compared to my average segments currently. I guess actually it doesn't, because I'm about to start losing time. But not near as much as I invested in trying to find the chest. And this is why this is actually a pretty stupid skip, to be completely honest with you. Oh, the lady's still alive. That is actually pretty surprising. Yeah, now the lady is dead. I use a royal jam on her, which revives her from 0 HP. Well, it would if we didn't just kill Hexus. That was probably as quick of a Hexus kill as you can get. That was really good. But we just essentially skipped from acquiring Flammy essentially right through Hexus. And that skips a lot more than we previously skipped. Or more specifically, other categories without multitap can skip. Also, the entire levels I just gained, well, they're going to be gone here. Because I'm going to save and reset in here. And that's that. Actually, it might be debatable as to whether that's a good move to save and reset. Saving and resetting saves about 10 seconds in this combat here, because I can move earlier already, and I also skip 2 text boxes. But it's debatable as to whether it even saves enough time for it to be worthwhile. Since you do have a lot more levels potentially after this, which is more HP buffer. On top of that, you also have a slightly higher chance to hit enemies. And that was a really good fight too. Not too bad. So. And this essentially just completely skips the entirety of the mid-game. We go straight to the late game, where we should go to the Pure Lands, but instead we go straight for the Mana Fortress. The Mana Fortress is a pretty rough place. We used to go and buy armor from Nico in order to survive everything, but since then we have improved everything, and we do a lot of spawn manipulation and trickery in order to not get hit at all, and well, we don't need that armor anymore. As a consequence, we also get one-shot by everything if we get hit, which does happen once in a while, so let's hope that doesn't happen. I went the wrong way. I should have gone the other way around to the west. There we go. So here, we use a level 1 sword charge attack in order to activate this little yellow jumpy dude. after we call Flammy. What that does is, ordinarily that little chumpy dude jumps you up on the ledge in a little event. That event overrides the event that is normally taking place now on the Mana Fortress, where the thing says just kind of, the barrier is too strong, we need to find a way to get in here. So we just kind of literally jump over the barrier event and we go on into the Mana Fortress without doing the Pure Lands first. And that's that. So here, in this area, I try to spawn those blue tsunami guys. What that does for me is it will allow me to run through here, activate those switches over here, then I use a barrel on the boy. Oh. Use a barrel on the boy, which allows me to run through the wall with the lady. Then I give the boy an overcharge boomerang attack, which allows me to activate the rope pole on the right side from this side over here, and have the sprite run through the wall as well. This overall doesn't save a whole lot of time, like 5 to 10 seconds. But more importantly, it saves me a lot of headache, because I don't have to deal with a lot of enemies that are usually spawning up there. This crap here, he would one-shot the sprite and the girl with his boomerang attack or whatever you want to call that, if he were to hit them. But I just completely avoid that from happening by, well, not going there quickly. You can sometimes just sneak past the crap without getting hit. Actually, most of the time you can. But he hit me so often so far that I decided to, that's just not worth it. So, and now we have Buffy here. Let's see. Oh boy. I'll explain what I'm doing here in this combat once I'm done, because this loses a lot of focus with pretty precise timings. Well, that's unfortunate. I never realized that. Wow. That was a pretty good Buffy fight. And I realized a little bit late that the sprite didn't have any MP anymore. Greetings, Nate, how are you doing? Alright, to explain what I just did there, slowdown doesn't really do anything to Buffy, just kind of as a spell. However, what it does is locks him into a special animation where he's trying to eat my character and delays eating the character while the animation for the slowdown effect is going on. That allows me to essentially just completely lock him down with spells. We call that a spell lockdown because we are not terribly creative and it kind of works. And the idea is that I just lock him down into spell animations where he gets hit by that spell again and again and again, and that allows us to get in way more attacks than we normally would while he's on the ground. We want to delay him moving away as much as possible, since it is pretty dangerous if he decides to just fly around, because if the buff is flying around you literally can't hit him and just need to wait until he comes down. That's kind of how it works. So alrighty, Red Slime, as I recently figured out, actually targets the character that is the furthest away with his acid rain. So I tried to have the sprite be my character that is furthest away, or the lady, either way. With the boy I just stand right next to him and keep whacking him until that is over. I also try to delay the attack here of the boy, because when the Red Slime is casting a spell, you cannot hit him. And that was a pretty good fight too. Wow, I'm actually curious. Huh. Apparently I'm ahead by all 30 seconds compared to the record. So, once again we do a lot of spawn manipulation in those areas in order to hopefully not encounter dangerous enemies. So you see me going quote-unquote too far to the left there. I press against the bottom here, wait for this guy to cast Stone Saber, which is good. Then we go into this area down here, down right, avoiding the wolves that usually spawn. Down left in here, and this wolf usually just casts a spell, so that's good. And this guy can be a nuisance, and he decides to kill the sprite and the girl, which is very unfortunate. I'm going to revive the sprite here. Please do not do that. I need the sprite still. The sprite I revive here for safety, really. You don't normally want to revive a character if you just have one alive. That is actually reasonably quick to move through these areas anyways. Also, I'm using 2 controllers here. However, don't hit. Whoa! The sprite just snuck under there. Ghosts have the disadvantage that they cannot run, but works out anyways. There's going to be 3 Terminators on the right here. Don't hit me. Alrighty. So we revive the lady here, and off we go. So that was a bit of a tricky and not so great segment, but it could be worse. So upcoming we have the Dark Lich boss. Dark Lich has 6666 HP. We need to hit him about 9 or 10 times. And he can just kind of make himself invincible for lengthy amounts of time and waste a lot of time. We just kind of hope that doesn't happen. Sometimes he even goes into a phase where we can attempt to get him into a what we call a Thanatos headbang glitch. It's less of a glitch and more of an AI loop, really. So let's see how that's going to work out. So, Dark Lich has an AI where he alternates between casting a physical spell and then a magical spell. He starts off with a physical spell. Sometimes he uses the beam, which means I want to position a character right next to him, since he targets the characters that are closest to him most of the time. I also give the boy the sword for this fight here, because I want him to have the sword after the fight. So I might as well switch one now already, since the sword has a pretty decent attack as well. So, Balloon Ring, which would kill the lady if I let it hit, but I just deflect it by using an item there. Same with the Thunder, would just kill the lady, deflecting it. Petrify Beam, it doesn't hit because I positioned the lady right next to his head over there. This spell is one of the better spells we can get because it basically doesn't do anything. And wow, holy smokes, that was a really good fight. If I had a better segment running to him, that would have been a pretty crazy one. Wait a little bit before I do the menu opening here again. Opening a full screen menu skips level up texts, and I do not have to see all the level up text before we actually go on. So, alrighty, there is a trick that you can get on the Mana Beast, which is called the one cycle, which I will be attempting to get, but it is pretty precise timing, kind of difficult to get, and also a bit random. I will still try. But on the other hand, I will be also doing something else that is basically an extended Mana Sword glitch, where I will be attempting to keep the Mana Sword out for a bit longer than ordinarily. What you do. Here well, a bit longer, I mean infinite. Cast Mana Magic on the boy with the sprite and the girl, that awakens the Mana Sword. I interrupt the Mana Sword awakening cutscene by stepping on the switch with good timing. It's not particularly precise, but you just need to do it before the second character completes his spell cast. And then I will be casting Frost Saber onto the Mana Sword in order for it to stay the Mana Sword. Since the Mana Sword is actually just a sword weapon, if you use an enchant on it, the boy will have that weapon permanently. The reason why we use the Mana Sword is because it has a 100% chance to hit, as opposed to our regular 70% chance to hit. Because we leveled up, we have now a 70% chance instead of a 60% chance to hit. But, well, 100% is just way better anyways. So we do that. So, also Mana Sword can now be traded. The sprite now has the Mana Sword, and we'll give the Mana Sword back to the boy. I got a regular slash attack for my Overcharge, and well, that's as quick as it gets. In order to survive the Mana Beast attacks, we use spells like Remedy to just override the damaging effect. For the second attack I'm going to be using a bit of a different strategy. I'll be casting Cure Water on the boy to revive him after he takes the damage, and with the sprite, I will be casting Acid Rain on the Mana Beast in order to lower its defense. Then I start attacking it. And as soon as the Mana Beast is targetable, I try to cast slowdown on it, kind of like I did on Buffy, to slow down the Mana Beast before it arrives. I'm attacking too early. This is the last one. Actually. Never mind. That was the last one. I tried to sneak in an Acid Rain there to lower its defense for a while. That was a crit. That was another crit. Wow, that was lucky. Critical hits do 9,000, basically max damage. This should be one cycle unless something weird happens. It's a bit of a slow one cycle because my menuing was not on point, and I messed up a few, but it should work out here. Wow. Well then. Random new record, I guess. GG. That was interesting. Let me actually see, how did we do in the early game? That was overall apparently pretty good. Mech Rider 1 I lost a bunch of time because I kept missing him, but Boreal Face and Minotaur splits were really good. Doom's Wall, the sewers sections was amazing. Vampire was basically as good as it gets. And then I actually lost a lot of time towards Hexus because I didn't get the chest. But despite that, we somehow managed to gain an insane amount of time on Buffy. I have no clue how that worked, and Red Slime too. That is just kind of silly. Well, on the bright side, the multi-controller category now has a proper record with the proper route too. So... yeah. This was overall actually a really good run. I will need to rewatch this is kind of silly. I mean, the biggest time loss is just straight up from luck, because I didn't get a chest drop on Hex from the little turtle. Huh. Fascinating. Well, this was supposed to be a little bit of practice for tomorrow, but I guess we can do that as well. Wow. Also, if I missed anything in chat, feel free to repeat it or tell me again or whatever. I wasn't exactly reading chat during that last section, sorry about that. Thank you guys. I just PB'd indeed. This is actually not the average splits anymore I was running at the end. I just happened to get a new record, I guess. So yeah, here we are. You're glad you stayed up, Chaz? Well then, I think you may be able to go and rest for a while now. Nice to see you around as well, once in a while. You just tried to get 3 of your kids playing this together with Multitap. 7-year-old and 2 5-year-olds. Total fail. No calibration. Yeah. It really depends on the type of kids you have, but 7 and 5-year-olds seems like it might be a little bit early. But hey, nice effort. Maybe a little bit later. That's awesome, Speed Racer. Full moon. Hey, Light Blue Cloud, thank you. I also kind of dropped the commentary towards the end there a bit, because, well, I was starting to realize, wait a second, that's actually a pretty good run. Maybe I should try to focus a bit. And honestly, the 3 critical portions with Buffy, Dark Lich and Vampire, they gave me as good RNG as you could ask for. The Red Slime went really well too. So yeah. I even got the 1 cycle on the Mana Beast. I only saved 10 seconds on the Mana Beast. I could have probably saved like 10 or 15 more if I had a bit better menuing, but overall that was pretty solid actually. You played this game at 5, or at least 7. Let me think about this. How old was I? I think I was 7 or 8 when I played this. Thank you guys, and thank you to Armsimkowski. Armsimkowski. That's a fascinating name. You like live Twitch for them? Hey, that's awesome. Nice. This game can also out on your birthday like Metroid did. Nice. That darn chest. I mean, honestly, I don't mind the chest luck being like this in the run. This is basically a perfect illustration of the run, and as to why we decide to go with a no multi-tap category for now. And overall, execution-wise, the run seems to be really good, as in... I am pretty happy with that, actually. Sure, there were some hiccups here and there, but... I'm not going to complain about that. Tomorrow new record? It's possible. It's entirely possible that tomorrow we would get a record. Actually, it is very unlikely though, because during a marathon I will go and save. I will save before Fire Gigas, before Jabberwocky. I will save inside the Wind Palace, and I will save before going into the Mana Fortress. So I will lose about a minute just based on that. But considering that we lost more than a minute for the chest, like 2 minutes there, or 3 even, it's technically still possible. That was quite something. I don't know what to say. This is pretty awesome. Oh, maybe I should mention what the moon thing is all about. At the end of the game for Secret of Mana, the moon can be in 3 different states. It's random which one. If you didn't know that, it can be a full moon, a crescent moon, or a 2/3 moon. Or as we like to call it, a waxing gibbous moon as well. So which one it will be, we have no idea. Let's see. What is my sum of bests? My sum of bests is about 10 minutes faster, which means about 1 hour 40 minutes and 40.5 minutes. So in theory there can be a lot of time saved, in theory, but you will never save that much time, since some of the splits are likely not quite true as to how they are, because of how I'm splitting. But for the most part they should be rather accurate. But yeah, you even get a full moon for a full run. With half commentary though. That is quite something. Oh well, that is that run for today. I'm actually going to do something that I haven't done in quite a while. Let me show you some weird stuff in this game. I really like this game, it's pretty awesome. So, as mentioned before, I can save warp into pretty much any place by loading the corrupted save file after I hold start select and R for a few seconds. So I can do the same here, except I'm not going to land in this screen, but in the screen just before that. So here goes. Holding start select, L&R. Load the corrupted save file. And boom, we are in the area where the sprite was just lonely standing under the tree. And we can't interact with the sprite. Also we have 2 sprites. It's kind of interesting, I guess. So what happens here is if we go up here, or to the left I guess, we arrive in the Water Palace. No music. It is in the Water Palace with no music because, well, only certain screens in this game have music triggers in case the music is not already playing. So, for example, the Water Palace has different music as this area out here, or different music compared to this area to the right of here. Essentially, this screen here plays this music with the water and Water Palace and really nice tune. The tune continues into this area here as well, but as soon as we enter the Water Palace, the music changes to this here. And when we leave, the same Water Palace music still plays outside here. So essentially this area has no music of its own. So it's quite weird, isn't it? So there are a lot of other oddities in this game. Let me see whether I can show you some more stuff. Is there any way to manipulate the turtle tank to drop the chest more than 16 odds? Not to my knowledge. If you find something, that would be interesting. But from what I know, it is frame-based RNG, which means it's humanly impossible to manipulate, or at least it seems to be humanly impossible to manipulate this kind of drop. especially since we don't necessarily... We do actually have a save and reset option, but then we would lose the invisible characters. Either way, let me demonstrate something real quick. In regular areas, where you use a magic rope, it transports you back to the entrance. So here we are. If you go outside, we are outside. However, there are special entrances and doors that are called exit doors, which means if we go in here, the game remembers where we entered from, which was just outside here. We entered this screen from over here. Makes sense, right? So it brings us back outside. However, if we use the magic rope and then use an exit door, technically speaking, we just entered this room here from over here in this room. So if we try to go outside now, we get teleported back here. So this is an exit door, and this is kind of weird in how it happens, right? So we can just try to go out there infinitely, because why not? We can use the magic rope again, and we get sent back to the entrance, and back here. And back here, and we can just make this an infinite loop if we wanted to. So those are kind of weird things, aren't those? Let me actually real quick get a turbo controller. I actually have those fancy new controllers, which are one-handed controllers, but I can also just use the turbo functionality of those if I want to. Well, I guess they are not technically new, but ASCII, or the company ASCII, released those one-handed controllers. They have the face buttons on the back. Well, ordinarily those buttons here on the back. The D-pad is up here, and LR buttons and select buttons are up here. Those are intended to be used by a single hand, which are pretty awesome, by the way. I want to do a run of those with those sometime. So what those have are down here, they have turbo functionality. What I'm going to be doing is I will activate the turbo functionality for the first controller, as in I will switch controllers right here. So alrighty, this controller now is playing with the first character, and the second character is still playing here. So what I'm going to be doing is I will demonstrate something real quick. If I press the start button on the first controller, the party gets reassembled to the character, to this boy over here. If I go back to the right, we reassemble, etc. What happens if I activate the turbo start button here? Well, the sprite starts flying around because repeatedly I unselect the main controller, the sprite gets assigned to follow the boy, and the girl keeps getting reassigned to, oh, you should follow the girl, follow the boy, follow the lady, follow the boy, follow the lady, follow the boy, follow the lady. So yeah, I control characters are kind of fun like that. So yeah, I just wanted to demonstrate this one. So other than that, let me unplug this one here. And back to regular controllers, since one-handed controller I'm not used to yet. If I try to safe warp into this area here, watch what happens. I was wondering what setup to use to stream to link your SNS to your PC. There are devices called capture cards, which essentially allow you to capture your video input from the SNES and capture it on PC. I use Amarek TV in order for it to display it on stream. So, alrighty, I just safe warped into the castle. And I'm now stuck in the wall over here, because these are the 00 coordinates. And we can't go anywhere else now. It's a bit unfortunate, but hey, that's how it works. Let me start a new game real quick. Start select. Or I could just load this stuff here, that's fine too. This is a 100% file, by the way, which I've completed in 32 hours and 50 minutes. Single sitting. That was quite the ordeal. It's not even a particularly good run, but if you'd like to watch it, I have it highlighted and on YouTube as a playlist. So what I'm looking for is the ice country here, which demonstrates more of the amazing AI control. Is that controller rare? You have been having problems with your left hand because of an injury. It might help me get out half or something like that. Unfortunately, yes, the controller is pretty rare. But if you're lucky, you might find some. They are not that cheap either, but if you find one, I can recommend them. They are actually pretty good. They are decent. I'm not used to them yet. But if you would like to have a one-hand controller, that one is probably a good choice. So, either way, what I'm going to be doing here is I will briefly use a level 1 sword charge attack in order for me to position myself at the bottom of the screen here. And then what I'm doing here with the second controller, I will tell the boy to be AI controlled. And then I will tell the sprite to be AI controlled. And what happens now is... this is... Seeker of Mana, AI control cactus in a nutshell. I'm not doing anything right now. What essentially happens is their pathfinding tells them to go over there to the left and to the right in order to find a passage through. But they just kind of never find a passage, and as soon as they hit those little notches on the wall there, they kind of get reset to try to do the same thing in the other direction. The ice stands, pretty much. The boy seems to actually catch up to this, right? That's kind of weird. Either way, let me put it like this. Despite the AI control cactus having, well, the AI controller being kind of flawed, really, I actually still appreciate how much it can do with how little logic and code there is for that program. So I don't think this is bad at all in terms of what it can do. It's just not particularly good for player friendliness, since, as you may know, you cannot leave the character screen with characters being out of screen for a while. Normally anyways. I do have some methods to do so. Let me actually get invisible characters real quick, and I will demonstrate something to you. Pathfinding at its best. So yeah, if you have trouble with one hand, those one-handed controllers are actually pretty good. They might not be suited for action games, but they could work anyways if you are good enough with that. For action games, you probably want to kind of hold the controller with a second hand, but everything else you should be able to do with the main hand. It should work still. They are really good. I have 2 of them, and I do want to use them sometime. In theory, I should receive a 3rd one, but that has not yet arrived. In fact, I probably should check what the seller told me, since that's kind of weird. Alrighty, to re-explain this real quick, I have that corrupted save file. You create that by literally just landing in the ice country, saving at the Nico, and then it's corrupted. So now, once again, holding start select L and R for a few seconds. Then I load the corrupted save file, essentially save warp into this file, and now we have invisible characters. Invisible characters are weird in that they can actually interact with things that are kind of far away. For example, I just interacted with that man on the right side here. What I do is you just face to the left and then press the B button, and you interact with the first entity that is around on the area. In order to make your characters visible, use a healing item or anything like that on the character. And if you want to heal someone who is invisible, use a barrel on them first, since that interrupts the healing animation in a sense that it just don't go visible. It seems to be coded like they are blind to the environment. Yes, pretty much. And considering that they are blind to the environment, it actually works pretty well for that matter. Let's see, what else do we have? Exactly. Alrighty, I told you, I do have some methods to get out of bounds. So, let's see, where is Matango? There we go. Matango is the mushroom village. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking advantage of the 3rd controller once again. Face to the left. and then I talk to the King of Matango. Because I have invisible characters, I can now walk through walls with all characters. And then I disable the multitap, so my invisible character now follows the boy again, while still being talking, and then we just go to the left and whoop, we're gone. What happens here is essentially the game tries to scroll you to the left, but somehow the entire area gets kind of messed up and screwed up. So you can see I actually walked straight to the left, and I keep walking straight to the left, keep walking straight to the left, and the shadows keep changing, and the boy just kind of go whoop, and he's gone. Essentially, this is, in short, from what I understand anyways, a disagreement as to how large the area is supposed to be and how large it actually is and what the camera does, since all the screens in Secret of Mana actually wrap around. Whenever you go out of bounds and walk in one direction, eventually you'll come out on the other. But this screen here, for some reason, seems to be either half as tall, or half as large, or twice as large compared to how large it usually is. So if I just advance the text box here, I'm now stuck in the middle of nowhere. If I try to open the menu, you can hear it being really weird. That is because the game tries to position the menu on screen, but it's not on screen, because I'm out of bounds. I'm not supposed to be out of bounds, and the game freaks out about that. The game is really difficult to control during this, but you can still kind of control it and close it, sometimes anyways, sometimes it reacts. However, if you open up the equipment menu, it is completely locked. It is basically soft locking here if you do that. Can I call Flammy? I can try. Maybe eventually it will accept the input for calling Flammy. It might actually be soft locked here already. So yeah, that can happen. Alrighty, that was a little demonstration of the many things that are not quite right with Secret of Mana, and how far you can go just kind of digging with this game without using any cheating devices, just by knowing what to do with what stuff. Alrighty,